How's it going, everybody? So, as you can tell, I've got a little bit of a collection here. This is an idea that I got kind of later on in our journey when it comes to my wife and I trying out new coffee shops. Just a fun and affordable way to kind of commemorate where we've been. So, I've got a cup from George Howell and a cup from Tandem in Maine, blue bottle that I went to in Boston. This is from a place in Toronto, Canada, Pilot Coffee Roasters. Yeah, so there's a bunch from all over the place. We've been to, as the title of the video suggests, 199 different coffee shops. We've been to 6 different countries, and we've visited 20 states. And so we've been from, Romania to Canada to Mexico to Florida to Washington State, Washington, D.C. We've been all over the place. And so I thought, before doing the number 200, I thought, why don't I just do a little reflection on kind of what I've learned and what Noelle and I've learned about coffee shops in general, how to find one, what a good coffee shop even is, what a coffee shop can be. And it's kind of funny because neither of us have ever been baristas. We've just taken this journey of genuinely loving coffee so much that we've just traveled the world trying coffee. And so this is some of the stuff that we've picked up along the way. First off, it's not as easy as I'd like to say that it is to find a good coffee shop. There's a lot of people who they have very mediocre standards when it comes to coffee, and then there are some outstanding cups of coffee. And I would say that we're getting better as a society at distinguishing the two, but it's still a little bit tricky. And so there are a few things when it comes to, memorizing certain types of espresso machines. Is that a good sign or is it a red flag? Because espresso machines do have a lot to do. Like the machine that's making your coffee has a lot to do with what kind of coffee you're gonna have. But on top of that, there's a lot of things when it comes to looking at the drinks that are being prepared. Is the microfoam really solid on the milk drinks? And or how's the space? Because oftentimes what a coffee shop will add to a space kind of shows that they're taking themselves very seriously. So I would say that there's a lot of different indicators. I think I'm gonna make a separate video on how to find a really good coffee shop. But for now, let's just say that there are lots of dead giveaways. And feel free to ask me, hey, I live here. Is there a coffee shop that maybe I haven't been to that you would recommend? Or I'm traveling to this place. I love doing that. My friends all the time will text me like, hey, I'm going to Florida. Where should I go for coffee? Okay, what city in Florida? Because that has a lot to do with it. And just going through the whole thing, it's something that I absolutely love. So feel free to comment in that regard as well. Another thing that I've learned is not to underestimate a city. There are some very unusual, unassuming cities that I've been to that had really, really great coffee. So a place like, for instance, Lafayette, Louisiana. It's a very small, it's like 100,000 people, but you wouldn't assume that it was like a place with an incredible coffee scene. But it has one of my favorite coffee shops I've ever been to in there. And so I would say that wherever you go, don't assume that you won't be able to find good coffee just because it's not Seattle or New York City or whatever. Because you can find in some of these little places, or even smaller-ish cities, you can find some really good coffee. Yeah, you're gonna go to some places and when you look for coffee shops, it's gonna recommend Subway, which that has literally happened to me before. And they don't even sell coffee. So that's kind of a weird thing. But never underestimate a city because there could be a really nice hidden gem found somewhere in there. Something else that we've learned along the way is that simple things leave some of the biggest impact. Customer service, man. I've had some really good coffee in places where they were looking right through me or kind of I seemed like an inconvenience, and I don't ever want to go back there. And then I've had good coffee at places where they made me feel like I was a literal long lost brother or some distant relative, and they welcomed me with open arms, and I've wanted to go back ever since. It's nice when you find the combination of the two, where you have excellent coffee and then amazing people who are making it. But something so simple as just treating every person like a human being, like they're important. Because no matter how busy you are, to be able to make those gestures, I think, is absolutely critical. And it's what makes a coffee shop experience really have like the right aftertaste, if you were. It feels good, like when you went and it was somewhere where you felt very valued and appreciated. Another one, and I learned this the hard way, is that there is a difference between a coffee shop that's doing it for the money or they're doing it for the love of coffee. Because I've been to a place where I was like, okay, this espresso machine is fantastic, their space looks wonderful, I'm super excited to get in there, and nobody knew what they were doing. Like, none of the baristas were using any of the ingredients to their fullest potential or any of the tools that they had at their disposal. And so I was very disappointed to have one of my favorite espresso machines, a Slayer, or a Victoria Arduino Black Eagle. Those are like some of my two favorites. There's a couple others. Anyway, I've had terrible coffee from both of those espresso machines because it was just a money machine. One of the places I went to had three of these like $30,000 espresso machines, and I did not get good coffee out of it. And I was very disappointed. And so when a place does it for the love of coffee, you can taste it because they genuinely care how it's being prepared. They want to have each of those ingredients elevated to their highest potential. They're not trying to just, yes, throughput's important. You're a business. I get that. So you want to have a lot of coffee going out, so you're having a lot of money coming in. That's, I understand that. But to be able to still really value the ingredients and value the industry enough that you actually want to contribute something to it, not just try to extract money from that business model. And so between the two options, if you find a coffee shop or you live next to a coffee shop that they do it for the love of coffee, you've found yourself a gem, that's for sure. Another thing I've learned how to do, and this one's actually kind of funny. Like, nobody does this on purpose, but of these 199 coffee shops I've been to, not all of them were great. Some of them were actually pretty bad, but they counted as a coffee shop, so we put it on the list. But one thing I've learned how to do is how to order bad coffee. So if I know for sure, like, okay, I want some coffee because I'm just in the mood. I was expecting maybe better coffee, but I'm here now and I know I'm not gonna get some. And there's some red flags for that. But I know exactly what I order, and that is I order a iced mocha. And here's the reason why. Because you can't scald milk that you aren't steaming, so they can't ruin the milk for you, they can't burn it. And if the coffee is naturally looking a lot darker, or the espresso is not gonna be as well prepared as it should, chocolate really helps mute those bitter flavors. And so your worst case scenario is you end up drinking chocolate milk that's got a little bit of a kick to it. And if you like chocolate, then go for it. Something sweet like a caramel iced mocha might be all right too, or a white chocolate iced mocha. But honestly, like the classic iced mocha is one of the best things to order if you know that coffee's not going to be any good. And you're more than likely going to just be drinking some chocolate milk with caffeine in it. So hooray for that. The last thing I want to talk about in this particular video is how amazed I am by what a coffee shop can add to the culture or the community of a city. I've seen downtown areas transformed because of quality coffee shops coming in and renovating some of these buildings that have a lot of character and personality, but they're just run down, and then all of a sudden getting cleaned up, and now there's something that's beautiful. And now it's kind of reflecting the potential of that area where maybe the downtown was in shambles, and now all of a sudden new life is getting breathed into it. So it's not just a place to get a caffeine fix, and it's not just a place to go when you don't feel like being at your house or at your job. It's so much more than that. You can actually create a ecosystem, like an oasis, where now other businesses are thinking, this is a great place to put our pizza place, or a great place to put our barbershop, or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, these towns that were so run down are starting to have new life breathed into them. And I've seen that done with coffee shops before. And so it's honestly, yes, it's a business, but more than a business, it's a place for the community to come together. It's a place for people to meet and to make relationships. And it's a place to feel like you belong in your community, becoming a regular somewhere. It's not just about the coffee. It really is about the culture. So the next question I'm kind of working on is what's going to be coffee shop number 200. Now, I live in the New Hampshire, New England area, and so I'm thinking of somewhere like Vermont maybe. I've been to a lot of coffee shops in Maine and Massachusetts and Boston, all that. And so I'd like to make it special. I tried to make it special. I was in Seattle with my wife, and we went to a coffee shop, and it was, number 100, but it was not like the best coffee we'd had that week. There's actually a place, side note, Anchorhead Coffee. There's a lot of great spots there, but I really enjoyed the customer service and the people there. Okay, anyways. So, if you have any recommendations for me as far as maybe a coffee shop that you say like, hey, you really need to try this place out. It's amazing. The people are awesome. The space is beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Let me know in the comments if there's a place that you really love, or if there's a coffee shop that you wish you could revisit that you in your travels that you haven't been able to go back to. Or if there's a coffee shop in your area that you're like, man, I am so fortunate because I live next to an amazing coffee shop. Whatever it is, please let me know in the comments. I love talking about coffee. I love sharing the mutual enthusiasm for coffee. But yeah, wherever you guys are, I hope you're drinking excellent coffee, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.